by God's grace, this nation will be a first world country. We have the human capital, we have the resources, we have the plan, and we have the vision. It's going to take us the same time Korea did, Singapore did, China did. In just 30 years, they managed to move their countries from third world to first world.
All right, so those are some of the...
This is the same person who stood in front of the nation and said, in 6 months' time, the stadium in Kamarinyi will be complete. In another couple of months' time, the stadium in Wote, in Machakos, will be complete. In another couple of months' time, the stadium in Eldoret will be complete. Instead of 5 stadia, we are actually going for 9. This is the same
Joakim, we get the point. It's fine. It's fine. Let's proceed.
You know, it is good that I jog your memory
so that are very fresh.
So that you do not forget who is speaking. You know, however good the deal is, that's why in marketing, one of the things you need to keep on knowing is know your customer. Ukishajua your customer, you can tell whether unagongwa ama deal ni legit. I'm still looking for what I posted the day they announced that they swore Kithure Kindiki into office. Pole pole, because I think I had done a screenshot, but imepotea. You see, that person speaking that video is the same person who stood at Bomas of Kenya when he was signing an economic charter with the women and said, my government will import 8,000 to 10,000 tractors that will be distributed across the country to help women till their land. It's the same person. This is the same person mwenye alituambia in the next 3 months mutungi ya gas hii munanunua shilingi 3,000, sasa mutakuwa munanunua na 500. Wakati aliulizwa akasema sikusema gas, nilisema mutungi. This is the same person mwenye alisema mahindi itatoka Mexico ikuje Kenya, ikakuja na wiki mbili, ikakuja na siku mbili. Watu kuuliza Mexico to Kenya mahindi siku mbili, akasema sikusema Mexico, nilisema maize iko. It's the same person. So before we even speak of the things we are speaking of today, can we please understand who is that person that is saying these things? And again, you need to understand who is his target audience. Why is it that there is no bottom-up? Bottom-up was meant for another audience. Let me explain that before I come. Niko karibu kuipata. The bottom-up economic model, the way they call it, was meant for a whole different set of people. By that time, the president was eyeing the votes in Mount Kenya. Mount Kenya people are business people. So unawambia wewe mama mboga huyu, wewe mtu ya kuuza kiosk, huyu beba, hata wewe mtu ya kuuza maziwa, sasa tutatoka hapa bottom, tuende up. Mtu ya kibanda ya mboga, atakuwa na supermarket. Mtu ya supermarket, atajenga kampuni. Mtu ya kampuni, atajenga mingi. It's a language that resonated with Mount Kenya because they are business people. Singapore is a big word. Meant for who? Where is the president spending most of his time?
Nyanza.
Yes. So do you get it now? How do you get the people of Nyanza to listen to you? What is their character? You speak big things. Unaenda Nyanza unawaambia Siaya. Hapa Siaya tutajenga a nuclear power plant. Luo akisikia nuclear power plant. It's a big name. Big ambitions. Tutaenda Singapore. It's a whole different audience. So if there is any Kenyan who still believes that the things we are being taught will happen, then William Ruto is not a problem. The problem is the people who are believing that it will actually happen. I'm not saying it cannot. I'm only saying not under President Ruto. Because once these countries are mentioned, it's only natural that you try and have a look at these countries that are being mentioned. And I spent some time and I looked at Singapore, I looked at Norway, I looked at Iceland, I looked at Qatar. How did Singapore come to where it is today? One, they declared corruption an enemy of the state. That when you are corrupt, you are an impediment to the growth of the country. How do they punish it? They make it so severe that ukisikia unakuwa suspected of corruption, you can even commit suicide because of the humiliation. They will even take away what you got legitimately. Hata bibi yake akisikia Obinna amekuwa corrupt anakuambia mimi nakuacha. Kama wewe unakuwa namna hiyo, I don't want my children to suffer. Two, national ethics, values, to love your country, to make sure that you grow your country. And Lee Kuan Yew understood that for you to grow your country, you need the best brains on the table to help you come up with a model that can actually help that country. So how do you make use of the good brains of the country? You make sure that they are not thinking about other things like food, other things like health, and source of employment. So you take care of the basics first. That as a country, you do not wake up in the morning with 22 million people thinking about how they will feed themselves. Very small things. Before we even start dreaming of becoming any other world, can we manage the world that we are in today? It is good that we dream of becoming first world or whatever they are calling it. But have we managed the third world? Today, parents are struggling taking their children to school. And after they take their children to school, your child graduates to be a JSS teacher. They are told to be interns for 2 years, being paid 17,000. Pesa ya waiter hapa hoteli ya Moi Avenue. So such are the things that you take care of. And what does Singapore have that they leveraged on? One, a strategic position between Asia and Europe. Another thing, good weather in their country. I'm told it rains an hour every day in the afternoon. And they are like an island. So they decided to be, I don't know how to call it, goods that are imported by Asian countries from Europe. They import them in bulk, take them to Singapore, then they subdivide them. They provide economies of scale, that it becomes cheaper for Japan to import their goods from Singapore than going to Germany. And therefore, most Asian countries went for goods in Singapore. Singapore imports in bulk. Ikifika Singapore, ile inaenda Japan inaenda, ile inaenda China inaenda, ile inaenda Taiwan. So they leveraged on that. They sell ideas. Ideas are what they sell. So that's how they developed to become the country that it is today. Let us come back home. What do we have as a country? What is the plan for us to become a better country than we are today? I have not seen a solid plan. And therefore, there is need to interrogate what you are being told. The president is telling us that the naysayers are saying that haiwezekani. We are not saying haiwezekani. Tunasema inawezekanaje. Kuna difference. Haiwezekani na inawezekanaje. The how is not coming out clearly. Iyo fund yenye anasema, infrastructure fund, that is targeting 5 trillion. Ndugu yangu, our budget of the country per year is 4.3 trillion. And our taxes cannot raise it. We raise like 2.5. We have to borrow 1 trillion every year to finance our budget. Then someone is telling us we are going to raise 5 trillion. From where? You know, it's common sense. That's why I get flabbergasted when a seemingly sane person in their right senses shouting two term. Kama tunakopa 1 trillion every financial year, how are we going to raise 5 trillion? It's not pocket change. Every year this country produces like 2.5, 2.6 at most. Our budget is 4 trillion plus, which means we have to go borrow 1 trillion so that we can finance the shortfall. Then someone is telling us we are going to now get some money to put it in the infrastructure fund. Let me give you an example. Tunaenda Norway, tukikuja, alafu tunarudi. Norway bado wako na a similar fund. Inaitwa Global Pension Fund for Norway. It's a fund that is similar to what we have, infrastructure fund and the sovereign wealth fund. For Norway, how did they finance their fund? From money that they got from oil and gas. That apart from the taxes of the Norwegians, they had some other source of revenue from oil and gas. The money they get from oil and gas is what they invest in the fund for strategic investments. The money they have invested, not more than 3% can be recouped back to the national budget. And who are the people managing this fund? It is the arm of the Central Bank of Norway that is managing the fund with clear transparency, professional and prudent management of what they are getting. From 1996 up to today, the fund is worth 2.4 trillion US dollars, according to the financial year 2024-2025. This is Norway with a similar fund. Where did they get the money? oil and gas. Singapore has a similar fund. Now, how did they finance it? From what we call fiscal surplus and non-commodity revenue. Fiscal surplus. For example, I have mentioned this country has a budget of 4.3 trillion. Now, let's say, for example, as a country, we generated revenue of 7 trillion. Now, after taking care of our budget, we still have some 2 or 3 trillion that we can therefore invest as a country so that we can now recoup in more money to help the country move forward and provide services for the people. Fiscal surplus. That's what they use to fund their fund. A non-commodity revenue. The services that they offer. I told you Singapore offers, they sell ideas. And then you come and do it from there, you pay them, and you use Singaporeans as your labor force. Qatar has a similar fund. Where do they get the money to finance it? From oil and gas, also in Qatar. It is worth 2.5 USD. Apart from the taxes that the Qataris pay, there is an extra source of revenue in oil and gas to finance the fund. They have invested out there, and the Qataris have confidence in the leadership that they have because they can see the services. In this country, the biggest government hospital, Kenyatta National Hospital, today in the papers, it has no reagents in the labs. Basic, important things. There is no medicine. Doctors have to come up with other sources of income on the side to survive. Ndugu yangu, madaktari ndio wanafaa kuwa wana enjoy. A doctor should not even think of beginning another services. That job alone. I'm of the view that a degree in medicine is the hardest degree. Haufai kuwa na survive huko nje. These are pitting problems that we have not sorted as a country. But somehow, someone is telling us that miraculously we are going to become some country. Alisema mwenyewe Wakenya wajinga waliisha Kenya. But he's behaving like wajinga sasa ni wengi. Sasa mimi kama Joakim ni support mambo kama hii at Singapore. I had said I will not talk about Singapore when I come here, but there is need that I tell Kenyans to understand. Unajua all these things, and I can see from the trends of social media, some Kenyans are thinking from their tribal lines. Let me say it clearly here. Thinking on a tribal line is the biggest stupid thing you will ever do. Accusing of another tribe of the absence of resources in your own tribe is the biggest stupid thing. Because these politicians who are cultivating this tribal narrative, they do not practice tribalism themselves, among themselves. If you are a Luo, you hate a Kikuyu. In that sense that Kikuyus didn't support Baba. Now look at Baba himself. How did he treat Kikuyus? How was his relationship was? His longest serving personal lawyer is Paul Mwangi. Paul Mwangi does not come from Siaya. He comes from Mount Kenya.
Best friend is S.K. Mashari.
His best friend, who has made sure that wherever Raila is, citizen camera is there, is S.K. Mashari. The person who gave Raila money to survive in Ford, Kenya, 1995 Thika Stadium, when he was fighting with Wamalwa Kijana, he went and borrowed money, 40,000 from Nginyo Kariuki in 1995. Why didn't he borrow it from Ambala? So once you think from your tribal narrative, you are being a fool. The other day I saw somebody, a seemingly intelligent person, akisema Ndindi Nyoro alikuwa anatumia pesa akiwa chairman wa budget committee kupeleka cabros in Kiharu. Ndindi Nyoro was a chairman for budget and appropriations committee. He cannot make a unilateral decision. And being that this is a parliamentary committee, any decision that comes out of that committee, the Speaker of the National Assembly has to append his signature on that. And that committee has people from all the political parties. So if you don't interrogate the statements of these politicians, you're most likely going to lose it. Can we stick to the agenda? Reason to vote. Reason to vote, if you are going to vote on the line of tribe, you have already lost.
Umepoteza direction.
Mapema. So hii maneno ya Singapore kwanza toa kwa akili. Kwanza tumalizane na hapa.
Okay. While we're talking about the Singapore dream, there's a couple of ideas the president also has for making the money.
Yes.
Pesa umesema hatuna. Another one that was even spoken about, we have privatization of state assets. And someone spoke about it. Do you have the video of the
privatization?
Of privatization of state assets, like akina Kenya Pipeline Company.
Safaricom, tuanze na Safaricom yenye wanataka kuuza kesho.
Umpana? Oh,
Safaricom wanataka kuuza. And let me tell you the real reason why they want to sell Safaricom shares. It's because they do not have money to pay their debt. And they cannot come with another tax. It will lead to another 2024 situation. So how do you raise money without a lot of questions? You sell your assets. And you sell the most profitable ones because they are easily sellable. So you start with Safaricom shares. And you know they are selling the shares at a discount of 15%. I can tell you that a discount is not a discount. Someone is pocketing the 15%. Alafu anakuambia, now after selling, they will put it in these funds. Sindio? The sovereign wealth fund. Who are the people that are going to be the directors of sovereign wealth fund? Proceeds of selling, privatizing parastatals and state assets is a revenue. The revenue of the country should come to the consolidated fund, not coming up with other special funds. When it goes to the consolidated fund, it will now be budgeted based on priority by Parliament. That the money we have in the consolidated fund right now can only be used to go to education or health, because that is the need for now. Coming up with a special fund and saying that the proceeds of privatizing these state assets will go to these funds is against the law in Chapter 206. These funds that they have created, the Auditor General cannot audit them. Parliament cannot be included in the budgeting. We cannot oversee them. How is transparency? How do we even be sure that the money in these funds will be used for the intended purpose? But I have already told you the main reason why they are selling state assets is so that they can pay debt. Ndugu yangu, the last quarter of the year, from July to November, revenue generated across the country was 900 billion, 906 billion for 3 months. Do you know how much we paid? We used to pay debt for the same period of time.